Hello and welcome everybody to the latest edition of the Jam and Cheese Show. James Graham's your host, joined as always by Brandon Smith. It's the Jam and Cheese Show, but noticeable by his absence, Charlie White.
Yes, it is noticeable. Why are you absent, Charlie?
Well, look, he doesn't have a mic, so I'm happy to speak for him as always.
He does drag on the episode.
The very first bloke to do any form of fitness challenge. This was a triathlon. Now, viewers, listeners, please don't get distracted when you hear that word triathlon, because we know the likes of the Port Macquarie triathlon, the Hawaiian triathlon, although I think that may be an Ironman. We're talking about a 750-meter swim, a 20k bike ride, and hey, guess what? To finish it off, can you imagine after all that, you don't think that's enough? You got to run 5k. A 5k run at the end of that. I mean,
that's not bad.
Look, I'm not knocking anybody that's putting effort into maintaining a healthy lifestyle, but I mean, look, it's not exactly pushing the limits of the human body. I don't think there's going to be anybody dissecting the efforts of Charlie White. How did he achieve
750 meters swim?
There's not going to be any books written about how Charlie prepared for this. And well, this is one of my big issues with Charlie. He came in, he's like, "Oh, I smashed the 5k run. I did it in like about 20 minutes," and then he goes, "Oh, I smashed about 21 minutes." I'm like, "Jesus, Charlie, that's good going." Like for a 5k run after that, he goes, "Oh, but the bike took me about 50 minutes to an hour because I couldn't change the gears properly and the chain kept breaking." I'm like, "Oh, well, that's disappointing." And he goes, I did breaststroke for 80% of the swim. Now, I almost felt I was in a bit of a dilemma, Cheese, about whether or not to actually verbalise this, because it's embarrassing for us at the buy round. It's like
that is so weird.
It is, isn't it? Like, at what point do you make the decision to go, right, okay, the front crawl's not working for me, I'm going to go breaststroke? Because
the front crawl, you mean freestyle?
We call it front crawl in England. Freestyle, yeah.
Freestyle. That is actually really weird. To do breaststroke would be so much harder.
Yeah, it was longer.
Is backstroke acceptable?
I reckon I'd rather see him go backstroke. And it looks like maybe
just like the head bobbing up and down.
Oh my, can you imagine?
He looked like a boy.
Well, I asked him, did he duck under? And he didn't. He kept his head above water. I reckon we look, being knowing Charlie for as long as I have now, I think it's maybe do about protection of the hair, because he often will be like, "Hey, how's my hair looking for this episode? Oh, I might just chuck a cap on." So
it's more, that's a doggy paddle. Like,
yeah.
Yeah. If you're not putting your head under, it's not a breaststroke.
Exactly. Well,
because it's called a breaststroke.
You know what, Cheese? You're right. It's not even breaststroke. He's not bobbing his head under. He's actually just like wading like a dog. Oh,
how long did that take?
The swim, like 20 minutes, 15 minutes.
So anyway, he's come in wounded from this triathlon. I think it was all in the run. He's obviously got after it. He's finished strong there, Charlie. Well done on. And he was saying he was hungover.
The preparation dictates the performance. Then,
for any young aspiring triathletes out there, don't get pissed on Anzac Day before a triathlon on a Sunday.
Speaking of that, have you ever played 2-up? I've never played 2-up.
Do you know what? I never got the opportunity to. And then last year, me and my old man went to the pub. So I was commentating the game after. So I said, "Oh, let's just go. I want to show you this 2-up." We did the dawn service. And to be honest, I felt overwhelmed that I didn't really know what to do. You know when you don't know what to do?
Yeah, is it just like a fancy heads and tails?
Well, basically, yes. But I don't know how to like organise putting a bet on, which like it's a lot of trust. Like
offer someone out.
Well, it's like,
"Well, you fucker, let's go."
But how do you organise a bet with someone? It's unregulated. You put your hand up. I don't know. I felt overwhelmed, and I'm not one of these people that just conform because other people are doing it. I do it. It's like, you know what? I'll just stand back and watch. But no, never actually played an official game of tour.
Neither.
No, it's not as full on in New Zealand, though, is it?
They don't do it in New Zealand.
They don't.
I don't think we do it in New Zealand. No.
Yeah.
Unlicensed gambling in a pub, mate. Probably get arrested.
Yeah.
But yeah, the lines outside Paddington were just absolutely ridiculous at 9 a.m. in the morning. They actually went down to my house from the Bellevue pub, which was very frustrating. I was still asleep.
You were still asleep?
Yeah, at about 8:30.
And then
the lines were just waking me up.
Oh, really? It was chockers down. I got the train in because I was working at the game. Walked from Central to Allianz, and it was pumping. It was great. Actually, it was good. Good atmosphere in there. You know, on unlicensed gambling in pubs, you can't bet in the pub in England. All the bookmakers are outside the pub.
No, I didn't know that.
It's so, like, culturally, it's literally next door, but you have to leave the pub to go out to place a bet. We're here in Australia. Obviously, we've got them set up in the pub. Or, I mean,
Well,
obviously
I don't think
England,
that's too bad. It might get a couple of people not.
But you can gamble on your phone.
Yeah, but it might get 2 or 3 people.
I always think about the cultural differences. You know, when I go home to England and go through the supermarket and you can buy booze in, I'm like,
oh yeah, same in New Zealand. You can just go. Yeah, you can buy.
You don't have to go to the shop literally attached to the supermarket. I'm like, come on. When I leave Coles or Woolies, I actually have to walk past. Just make an extra effort. 2 transactions.
You've got to make 2 transactions.
2 transactions. Like, anyway. Cheese,
Should we get into some footy?
Let's get into the footy. And really, the only place to start, I think this has to be not just a record in terms of number of sin bins, which was 18, granted somewhere for professional fouls, but every single game in the NRL had a sin bin.
Was it
At least one.
18.
18 total sin bins, and every single game on ANZAC round had a sin bin.
That's 180 minutes. We had a
So
superstar in the bin.
and the game affected. So there's a couple of areas to explore with this. Now I know Andrew Abdo is going to be speaking today about the current situation, the lay of the land, and how the future may look. So my issue, or one of my biggest issues, is the bunker interference. So Fanua Bole, classic example, makes it what seems to be a regulation tackle on Tommy Hazelton. The referee blows, and we're all stopping. Everybody's like, "What? Why is the game being stopped?" Goes back. The replay shows there's what, in my opinion, is incidental contact with the head, and he's sent for 10. Sandon Smith, another example.
Yeah.
Like, what blows up, the whistle goes up, and we go, "What's going on here?" Sandon Smith sent to the bin for what I think is incidental contact with the head. So you've never been allowed to hit people in the head in our game, ever. And nothing has changed. But I think with the way the game is, it is unavoidable. You could find, quote unquote, contact with the head in almost every single ruck. Every single ruck, you could find some form of, quote unquote, contact with the head. And I'm confused as to, A, why the game now seems to say we want to punish that type of contact with the head with 10 minutes in the sin bin. I don't think that's personally necessary. I think it should be dealt with after the fact. Now, that's not a silver bullet. That doesn't solve all the problems, because we'd look at incidences like Nelson and Sofa Solomona on Lindsay Collins in that grand final qualifier last year. Off the kickoff, he's hit Collins. Collins turns around, plays the ball the wrong way, and Nelson gets 10 minutes. And you could say, well, James, should that be 10 minutes or not? In my personal opinion, it's the lesser of two evils to not punish high contact with a sin binning. I think it should either be up to the referee to blow a penalty or a send-off. I don't like the idea of using the sin bin to punish high contact. I think it's either got to be extreme enough to an Adrian Morley style send-off in that Ashes game in 2003 or penalty sufficient, and let the match review committee deal with it. Now, people will point to that example of Nelson, and it's, I get that. But if that referee doesn't think that that's a send-off, it's just a penalty.
So do you think it's more important to punish them post-game?
Yes.
Without sit out weeks rather than...
Well, because of the fact that some of these incidences that are happening, it's affecting the product far too much than I'd like to see. And what also it brings now is this level of inconsistency. It's breeding inconsistency. So the Isaiah Yeo example, where it's his forearm onto the head of the Panthers player, and people go, well, that should be a sin bin. But because we've seen other examples of what a Sandon, so the Isaiah Yeo versus the Sandon Smith, it's basically identical. But because the pressure on the referees in the bunker now, you can't start policing every single one like that, because like I say, there would be quote unquote contact with the head in most rucks. But because you got one example of it happening, the extreme example of like a Sandon Smith, people want to see that applied across every single ruck. But we can't, because we'd have even more than the 18.
Yeah, well, I just find it... What I find shit is they bring in these fancy terms like moderate force.
Oh, my God.
Like Sandon Smith's one is not moderate force. Like, he clipped him on the chin. And then also, what was Latrell Mitchell meant to do? Like, did you see that one? Tyrone Wishart has fallen over and like probably...
That's far longer.
There's Tyrone Wishart. He passed it to Wishart, and then Wishart fell over.
Yeah.
And then he... Like,
he got far long. Latrell got...
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he got far longer. Yeah.
No, I just remember seeing...
I know, and Wishart almost got... Yes.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying, yeah.
But like, how are you meant to do anything about that? And just the moderate force, how are you meant to judge what's moderate force, what's high force? It's becoming a bit of a farce, to be honest. And like, that Bulldogs game was just completely ruined. And mind you, some of those ones from the Bulldogs game were probably deserving of a sin bin. I think.
Well, this is it, Cheese, where we go. It's now deserving of a sin bin, because this is it's come into the language where that is now the standard practice punishment. Where I personally don't think it should be.
What, a shoulder charge though? No intentional wrap.
No.
So
I think that should be dealt with, and maybe even perhaps more harshly after the game, because I think the product should be protected. And only for the sin bin should be used for, generally speaking, foul play, or like I say, that like the Nelson incident.
Yeah, like,
and it's like, well, it's that fine line between, do we use that for, like, is a sin bin enough of a deterrent? Like, is that warranted enough? Now I know the Roosters lose.
Well, they're
Collins.
getting both. They're getting the sin bin and the punishment after. Like, I think Satilli got like 5 weeks for all this stuff.
Well, look, there's no perfect answer here, because we know when the pendulum swings the other way, it, like in that example of somebody failing a HIA, like Lindsay Collins did in that game, he's ruled out, right? And then people go, well, the Roosters didn't get any advantage for that foul play. And I get that. I understand that argument, but at the moment where we're at is it's breeding more inconsistency.
Well, it's so strange how it just come about this week as well. Like they announced their crackdown. When did they announce that? About 4 weeks ago, and then they had that 1 week where it was a lot of send-offs, a lot of Simbins, and then this week it's just gone crazy. Like last week, some of those ones that were getting hit highs weren't being Simbin, and that's where you're saying that the level of inconsistency is just coming in, and where does it stop?
Well,
hopefully whatever Abdo has to say this week is... I actually seen him in the box. I was sitting in the box with Abdo. I was trying to get the inside word about the send-offs.
What's been the message to the players?
So usually I think the refs give like a brief to the coaching staff, and then the coaching staff will then come in and tell us in a team meeting that there's a crackdown happening. But like it's pretty quick. Like it could be happening that week, so 3 days before.
Yeah.
And then you got to pretty much go into the wrestle room and practice tackling lower.
But for me as well, because so an incident like the Sorensen on Nathan Brown, like Nathan Brown is coming off the back fence, and obviously we've seen what happens with like that Lindsay Collins example, but with Sorensen, he's making the collision with somebody, and I heard people try and explain this, but as a tackler, you are more vulnerable. And you have to go up around where the ball is on those type of runs. And obviously we've seen when it goes wrong, it goes spectacularly wrong. So for me, this is just my personal opinion, I would rather, and I think if you ask the players, I think they would probably prefer things to be settled 13 on 13, apart from extreme examples where a send-off would come into it. I don't know. What do you think? Do you like the fact that the Simbins are happening? Because like I say, for me, it breeds inconsistency.
I absolutely hate the Simbins that are going on at the moment. And we both can see, I think Charlie can see as well, clearly what's a Simbin and what's not a Simbin. I feel like those incidental contacts, but the ones where it does go really wrong and people are injured in the process, I think those are the ones that should possibly be Simbins. But not the ones where it's like the ref didn't pick it up.
Yeah.
I didn't pick it up. The team didn't pick it up. The guy running the ball probably picked it up because he wanted a penalty. But other than that, the only thing I think is deserving of a Simbin is if you've knocked out the other guy, or you've sent him off the field for a HIA, and therefore he's off for 10 minutes, you're off for 10 minutes. Well, he's off for 15 minutes, you're off for 10 minutes. I don't think the incidental contact, because then it brings in a world of problems that we've already had in NRL, where players get hit softly on the chin and then go down, hold their chin, and then that, if you're going to bring that in, it's going to be 10 minutes in the bin for that guy. It's just hard because it sets like a precedent, like anything around the head means Simbin. Then coaches are saying to their team, mate, if he's hit you in the head, you've got to stay down for at least 5 seconds.
Well, it's you don't even need to now.
Yeah.
Like Fanua Bole on Hazelton, nobody picked that up. Absolutely nobody. But the bunker then going or reviewing that tackle and then stopping the game to ultimately...
Yeah, what do you think about the bunker being able...
Well, this is it. I don't think the bunker should intervene.
I don't think they should be able to do anything.
Well, try scoring plays.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And then that really should just about be it. Should really just about be it.
We've got good enough referees nowadays to, like, if they haven't picked something up, it means it wasn't that great.
For me, I'd love to understand why we are doing this. Like, why is it fear of litigation? Is it to show to our new fans that this is a punishable offence and it's not accepted in our game? I can't understand why, because in terms of what, like, I love watching the game of rugby league, like the athleticism, the different skill sets that are involved, the power game, the swings in momentum, the skill, the unpredictability of each game in every round, where the ability to come back like the Dolphins the other week against the Melbourne Storm are 16-2 down, I think it was, or whatever, and they come back and win by 40 points. The Dolphins are out to a lead against the Canberra Raiders. Canberra Raiders didn't look like doing anything in that first half. They came back so. The product's great. All the numbers in and around the game are the best they've ever been. TV viewerships, engagement in the shows like this, attendance, everything is going gangbusters. Origin around the corner. The Ashes are back, but then we in my opinion ruined the product, and I don't know what for. I don't know why because like I say, you've never been allowed to hit people in the head. But it used to be penalty sufficient, or the match review committee will deal with these issues post-game. Why can't we go back to that? Trust the referee to make the call. Granted, they're going to get some wrong, or go the other way, the extreme way, and go, if you're going to use the bunker, get it right and be consistent, because I think that some of them that are what we've seen in this round in terms of those sin-binnable offences, they're not being consistent. And if you've got a bunker, you've got no excuse.
And get rid of the silly words like moderate force.
Well, Joey Johns was absolutely livid. He's basically called on the NRL fan to vote with their feet and their remotes. And he's saying, we've seen it. He said, you guys are in charge, which we don't want to see people turning off, but that's what people are ultimately doing there. They're so affected by this. And again, people will point to the fact that, well, look at the numbers. And that's great, but I think there's some nailed on fans there that have been lovers of the game for such a long time that it means so much to them. And you can see how passionate Joey is about this. Like, that although all these things are great about the game, we can be better and we should be better. And with Origin around the corner, like, if, Jaden Sullivan that gets a finger in his eye, if that happens in Origin, what's it going to be like? If the Fanua Bole tackle on Tommy Hazelton or the Sandon Smith or Scott Sorensen off the kickoff, if one of those happens in Origin, what's the, and it's game defining, what's the outpouring going to be like when people are actually like genuinely passionate about the result? Like at the moment in the NRL, there's not really been games decided. Well, sorry, I shouldn't say that. They are affecting the game and they are deciding the games, but it's so early in the season where it's not as consequential to pick up the 2 points, lose a game. The coaches are very conscious of what they say, so it's not fueling anything in the post-match press conferences. But when Origin comes around, which isn't far away, when it has the potential to divide a country, and then the finals come, like, if we've got an opportunity to fix this up, and for me that's the best solution in terms of get the bunker out of the free flow of the game. If the referee misses it, then we'll live with that. Keep the bunker out the game. Let the referees, if they see a high shot, blow a whistle. I don't mind your idea, Cheese, around the 10-minute sin binning being brought in for incidences where it's clearly affected the ball carrier. But at the moment, it's so frustrating seeing the referee go, time off, come over here, or 5 plays ago.
Yeah, you're completely right, and we need to get it done by Origin, because you like you said, it will divide a nation. And a lot of people in Origin are more old school style. And you know how we change the rules in Origin every year? Like, you watch the way the game gets reffed and it's just a completely different game to what we see throughout the season. Like, I hope they do that again, but I hope they just sort this out before anything that really matters. I mean, like, Penrith Panthers, they're not looking too great this year. They can't be getting too many sin bins. That could decide their future in this competition for finals. But yeah, it's been been a weird season already.
Well, I reckon it's going to be one of them. Origin will happen, and then it'll be reffed how we all like it to be reffed, and we'll go, that's the blueprint moving forward. It happens so frequently. It season on season, Origin seems to be the catalyst for positive change. I guess the glass coffin comes out and it remains to be seen. But I'm.
Oh my god.
I'm I'm with Joey on this. We need to get this one sorted out. In other news, Cheese, it looks as if a Perth-based Bears team, yet to be determined on what their name is going to be introduced to the competition with Brad Arthur as the front runner.
Just bought a property over there, didn't he? In Coogee?
Coogee in WA.
Yeah, Coogee
in
in
Perth,
WA.
not Coogee in eastern suburbs. What your sort of thoughts on them coming into the comp?
I think it's good they're coming in the comp, getting the Bears back. Hopefully it's the Bears because it's got such a rich history, the North Sydney Bears, and I don't know if it'll be the North Sydney Bears when they're out in Western.
I think it's like WA Bears or maybe I can't remember
Whoever
exactly,
it is,
but
it's
they're back.
But it's going to be, I don't know, is it going to be hard for them travelling 5 hours every 2 weeks? That's the only problem I have.
They'll be like the Warriors do enough travel every couple of weeks.
Yeah, but this is 2 extra hours on top of that.
Oh, mate. Nothing.
It's 4 hours extra travel, to be fair.
Yeah, well, you just have to deal with it, don't you? They're just it's part of the dance. Like the American athletes fly around all the time. Like it's part of their culture. It's not ideal, but it's just done.
But also, they fly on private jets. We're flying in. My knees are touching my head.
You need to get bumped up. Yeah, look, obviously it's not ideal with travel time, but I think it's exciting thing for them to come into the comp.
But I think it is awesome, and I love Perth.
It's a good spot, isn't it? It's very attractive.
Whoever the general manager of the Bears team is, I do love Perth. It's a great place. To come off contract around then as well. Nah, my brother, my sister, my missus' brother-in-law's my missus' brother is here with us from Perth, staying with us. Did I just say Mrs. Brother-in-law?
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I think I got a head knock over the weekend.
Yeah. you know who I'd like to see, or there's two people who I'd like to see be involved in this new franchise. Now, I know Brad Arthur, very experienced coach, took Para to that grand final. I think about the Dolphins and their introduction, and for me, Wayne Bennett was their biggest signing. I think there's no one of that ilk available.
Ilk? Talk to me.
It's just a saying, like ilk, prestige.
Ilk?
Yeah. It's a common word used in the English language, ilk. Well, should we look it up? What's it actually? You can search it for us. Ilk. So, anyway.
Ilk.
I reckon Eddie Jones.
The trader?
Eddie Jones.
Mate, I've seen him in like 3 different coaches' boxes over there.
I reckon he's making some moves. I reckon he would be a real a magnet to Perth. Like he's a big name. Like he'd be headline grabbing. Or a Michael Checker. Maybe as I don't know, maybe head coach or director of football, director of rugby, whatever you want to call it. But he would be, for me, Eddie Jones would turn a lot of heads. Like, look, for Brad Arthur's going to be a great coach, but is he an attractive enough name? And I think with a Perth team coming in, you need that draw card. And I think someone
he's going to turn some heads, but has the Australian public gotten?
Yeah, but it's in Perth. Well, the thing is that people want to watch it.
It's in Perth. Yeah. What does that mean?
Yeah, fair enough. It means nothing. But I think people would be naturally drawn to see how he goes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, they'd watch just to prey on his downfall.
Yeah. And look, him coming to take charge of that team, I wouldn't want the accountability of that decision. I just want to see what happens. But
so basically, you love drama, and you're looking for a soap opera.
I don't think I'm looking for a soap opera. I just think I'm intrigued to see how he would go as a rugby league coach, because I've spoken to him on the podcast, and he was like obviously a huge lover of our game. He's done so much in the game of rugby union. And like I say, I think it would be headline grabbing. It would be also, look at how Mark Nwangani-Tawase's come into the competition. He'd be able to cherry pick those rugby union players that could potentially come across to our game, and he would be a great educator for those individuals.
I think you're onto something. I just don't know if it's the right idea. I think, is he a rugby league coach?
Well, he loves the game. Like, he loves the NRL. He loves what rugby league people bring to an organisation.
My dad also loves the game, but he couldn't coach.
Yeah, but your dad hasn't coached Australian rugby union team or the England rugby union
probably
team.
tell you, yes.
Yeah. Or Michael Checker. That's, he's had involvement with the Roosters. He's had involvement with the Lebanon team. Again, he'd be a massive draw card there.
Yeah, I think he's more suited as because he done a really good job with the Lebanon team.
Yeah, I just think I think you've got to get an individual or a couple of individuals that are going to entice players to go there. Even someone like a Matty Johns or an Andrew Johns, like, get the NRL to ask them, like, would you? Because I think it's going to be an NRL managed team, in terms of a football club. It's going to be owned by the NRL. They've got to get draw cards there. We've got to get it. You've got to move quickly. Like, it's 2027. They're coming into the comp. They're going to go on a recruiting mission, like, basically as of now.
So is it all confirmed?
Basically, yeah, basically.
On Matty Johns, actually, it'd be a great get for a coaching gig over there, because he actually come over to my house to watch the Melbourne game the other day.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. And, I was saying my Mrs. Brothers here, they're all AFL people from Melbourne. They have no idea what rugby league is. And we were watching the game, and Matty Johns is going, have a look at this. See how they're flat up against the ad line? I fucking taught them that. I created that. And he's like saying it to these people that have no idea what's going on. I fucking created that.
They do.
When
they
there's a fast play the ball, they're flat over the ad line. I took that to the club. I was like... No, you didn't, Matty.
Did you call him out, or?
No, I was like, yeah, listen. Yeah. I backed him up. I was like, mate, he's so right. Yeah, you did all it, Matty.
Yeah, I think for Perth to make an impact, person in charge is going to be super important. And Brad Arthur's got plenty of attributes that go in his favour. He's also got great knowledge of the English Super League, which I think could be a target for a bit of a raid when it comes to recruiting players for the Perth Bears, or yet to be determined what their name is.
He does have relationships with players.
Yeah.
Which can be enticing.
Well, he's obviously got those Parramatta connections, but I don't know. I think someone like
Mitch Moses could turn some heads.
No, he's locked away.
How long for?
Yeah, he's got all the clauses.
Now, we've seen that. That's not always the case.
Yeah, but he's got all the clauses. Yeah, he's not going to get... I think if they're going to get a number 7, it could be Jerome Hughes, who's off contract, who...
would turn some heads as well.
He'd be a great acquisition, and he'd probably become the highest paid player in the game. I think that it's an attractive place to go, and they could throw 1.5, 1.6 at him, and I think that's what will be the strategy for them, as opposed to a Payne Haas. I think they go for Hughes over Haas.
I think either one of those you're going to get some players following them.
They've got to get moving quickly, though. We'll get into some footy, HGs.
There's not enough talent pool out there, do you think?
Oh, you don't think there is?
No.
To sustain another
Not
team?
like enough off contract.
Yeah, but, well, there's technically enough, but it's same happened with the Dolphins. Like, things start to snowball, and I reckon there is enough talent. And it might be a bit of short-term pain, but for long-term gain.
Who's your first signing?
Jerome Hughes.
Out of everyone. All off contract.
Jerome Hughes. He's for 27. He's the top of it.
Okay.
Maybe Payne Haas, but I think Jerome Hughes. Yeah, he's probably a bit more important, and he'd be a huge name to sign with what he's achieved at Melbourne.
They'd have that, like I was saying, they'd have that advantage of not anyone knowing who you are.
And he obviously he's moved away to be at Melbourne. I'm not sure what his future plans are. And
He's got a crook back though. I don't know if his back could handle that travel.
Well, you know what? Geez, it is actually something to consider. Like how they plan the schedule, which I think probably for season 2025 hasn't been the best schedule planning.
Especially for the Sharkies.
Yeah, there's a few teams in that boat that go. I don't understand the.
Is there like a dedicated
turnarounds.
team in the NRL that does that?
They stopped using the place in Canada.
They've stopped using that.
Yeah.
Well, it's an easy, simple fix. Look at the number of turnarounds. Just go through each team's draw. Check out the amount of Ks. Like, to be fair, Canberra Raiders have done probably more travel than any other team, but it's not stopping them. But again, like it's just not ideal. It's just unnecessary. It really is unnecessary. Mate, well, let's get stuck into some of the football. There was, I think, probably the place to start, Cheese, is Penrith. And I'm not shock loss to Manly, but it's getting pretty desperate now for the Panthers. They need to win 13 games all year. They've got two to make finals. 13 wins to get them into the finals, which sounds incredible that we're having this conversation when you consider what they've achieved. They've got to win 11 from 16, and their Origin schedule. So they play the Newcastle Knights before Origin 1 with no Origin players. So both teams, no Origin players. So Knights, no Ponga, basically. I can't see anyone else being missing from that team. They will lose Cleary, Yeo, Martin,
Edwards,
likely Edwards, likely Toto, who's already out anyway. So, I mean, that's a difficult, look, Newcastle aren't exactly striking fear into the opposition at the moment, but Penrith, I don't even know how they fill their team sheet out. They then back up after Origin 1 against Parramatta, which will likely have Lomax, Moses, but these, I mean, I imagine they will back up, most likely.
well, they'd have to.
Both. I reckon both sets of players are back up. I think that's on a Sunday as well. The Origin 2, they have a bye going into it. It's in Perth. They play the Warriors away after Origin, so there's no way any of those players are backing up. That's a no-no, which, again, Warriors won't have anybody playing. So there's two games there, that the one against Newcastle, the one against the Warriors, where it's difficult to see them getting wins. And then on Origin 3, they have no game, they have the bye going into it, and then they back up again against Parramatta, which goes to our earlier thing about the draw. Like, why would you have Penrith Parramatta backing up from Origin 1 and Origin 3? It doesn't make any sense to me. Like, the same fixture repeated itself post-Origin. Like, what is going on? But again, the same predicament of probably a number of players, forced to back up. So, look, I don't know if we can ever, until it's mathematically impossible.
You can never put a line through
We can't, because of what and they've come back in games before. They've got the Broncos this week in Magic Round. I genuinely, it's so strange to watch, because it's not like they're getting pumped. They're just not the same team.
No.
And it's almost like they're
do you reckon the stop-start of the penalties and stuff has anything to do with a little bit of it? Because you know how they're a team that just love to get in the grind.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Like, they like that
they just
flow.
go back and forth. But their defence has been terrible this year.
I'd say I don't think that is the issue.
When we watched them against the Roosters last week, they looked like the Penrith of old. They were so in sync. They played so well, and then I don't know. It's a tough one. It's almost Penrith's current form or season 2025 is almost as intriguing as them going back to back to back to back. Like, I don't know actually which one stands out. Obviously, it's crazy to see them at the bottom of the table.
It's incredible what they've done, but because they've achieved so much, I think we knew it was going to come to an end someday. But I think most of us just assumed we'd see like a gradual decline, not to see them fall so hard.
Yeah, but if you ever look at the people they've lost over that time, it's if you named a team just purely from Penrith players in the last 4 years that have left the club,
of course,
it'd win the comp, that team.
Yeah, it would, cheese. But then we said the same thing every single year, and they proved us all wrong. So we're always hesitant to say, "Oh, they've lost too many players," or "This will be the year that hurts them," because they've been there before. But maybe it's just the compounding effect. They look so stretched. Like, look. And
played an incredible amount of football as well. And
they've got a couple of injuries, which and some players I think probably playing a bit busted. But it like even just to look at them, they don't have that same level of intimidation as they once did. Maybe that's Jerome, who was very up and about in his game. Maybe that's Fisher Harris that just led from the front with his defensive efforts. They look stretched. They look vulnerable. It's just bizarre watching.
For me, I don't like seeing it. Like, it's hard to imagine them being on the bottom, and it just comes, who's the standard now? What team is becoming the standard? Because I honestly don't think they'll make the finals. Just in the form that they're in, and it's so hard to say that, but they're almost full strength at the moment. Almost. They need Brian Tall back, and that's about it. And is he going to turn all this around? I think they win those Origin games, though. If Mitch Moses isn't playing in one of them for Para, I think they win that one. And if Kalen Pong is not playing
for Newcastle, so it'd be only Ponga out. But I don't even know how Penrith are going to put a team together without those.
Yeah.
Going into that, the game against Newcastle, the team will be basically unrecognisable. But
unless the form of their team is going to dictate a few players not making Origin.
Well, that's a very good point. Like, I think Cleary has to be in, doesn't he? You know what? Geez, you make it, but Liam Martin has to be in because he still puts in.
See, my one is. I don't know if Teddy shouldn't be not considered Origin.
Well, Joey Johns has said if Turbo's fit, he should be Origin fullback, which will piss Manly off, but
I don't think so. Is he play? What did he play on the weekend?
He brained it against Panthers. Absolutely brained it. But it's probably a big enough injury concern. He's got to be fit come Origin 1. The Panthers, it's so puzzling because we've made predictions about the Panthers, or we've seen people make predictions about the Panthers in years gone by, and we're also scared to write them off because of what they can do. It's actually...
It's weird because all their form is down, but it's because they're like a machine, right? Like field position makes Dylan Edwards play well.
Yeah.
And they don't have it. And then fast play the balls makes Nathan Cleary play better. Like he's having to create everything pretty much, on his own. Then he's having to do a lot more tackling and a lot more work. Like there's just one part of the system that's come out of place, and they need to find the missing piece now.
I'd love to know what Ivan Cleary's like genuinely thinking about how he can fix this. Like, because it doesn't appear like they're that far away from like being in a contest, winning games, and like you say against the Roosters, it looked like they were back. But maybe it is just pure and simple fatigue, and it's they're stretched to their absolute capacity.
I'd love to see the stats on how much more games Penrith Panthers have played than any other team, because if you have a look at all the teams that they beat, like you said, in the grand finals, none of them all made the finals the following year. So that's just like it's just compounding on how much more games they've actually played. Like they've played 30 games, more than 30 games for the last 4 years, 5 years. 5 years. They've made the grand final 5 years in a row. Yeah.
And they're big, emotionally draining.
Yeah.
It's absolutely bizarre. We'll get into the Bulldogs loss to the Broncos. The Broncos, hats off to them. They were absolutely fantastic. Cobbo at the back, Reynolds' kicking game, the middles of Haas, Carrigan, Willison on the edge, which I actually really liked. Were the Bulldogs that bad or the Broncos that good?
I think the Broncos started that good and the Bulldogs imploded. Imploded internally. Because one emotion. I saw the Bulldogs become very emotional. You know what I mean? Like on the field, they become very.
Yeah, they did. Yeah,
they let a lot of things. They didn't really react as good as I thought they would.
Yeah, even Crichton, he was getting baited by, I can't remember who.
Selwyn Cobbo. But Crichton was still doing some good things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, on the field. Whereas a lot of the other boys they let the emotions get the best of them, whereas Crichton kind of used those emotions. They had 3 sin bins. And the score was 36-18 in my opinion. It wasn't, but that last second try.
Yeah. For me, it just goes to show just how difficult it is to remain up for so long. And I think the Bulldogs, they missed the start massively missed the start. Yeah. And it just gave the Broncos that instant opportunity. I thought the Broncos brought players underneath and played the conditions really well with Willison coming, getting dropped underneath, exposing that 5-man defender, that edge of the middle unit, and he just caught out Reed Marnie a little bit out of position. And then the kicking game of Reynolds was sensational. Yeah. Like absolutely sensational. He was
flawless 40 minutes.
Had it on a string. They dominated. And there was a lot riding on that game. Obviously, the Broncos, they lost that heartbreaking game over in New Zealand, a lot of travel, all the excuses in the world not to turn up, but they did. I think it brings some questions though, like Selwyn Cobbo at fullback. He's another one who's off contract that would be sought after by Perth. But we were speaking with Gordon Tallis about it yesterday, and he said he's got to be close to Cherbourg, like the place that he's from. I guess it's a difficult predicament for a young man to be in, where you're going to have the law of much more financially incentivized, a much more financially incentivized deal to leave Brisbane. But do you stay because of your family? And I guess everyone's affected in different ways by that. Look, but both you and I have moved countries, but I think you wouldn't want to see the Broncos take advantage of Selwyn and play him completely unders, because he's off contract, Staggs is off contract, Reynolds is off contract. They've already bought in Grant Anderson from the Melbourne Storm for next year. So it's going to be interesting to see where they go. I think people are saying Staggs is done, and there's other people saying no, Staggs is way off. And you can't keep them all. You never can. Penrith are an example of that.
If I'm going to take a bet, I think Staggs is the one they're going to let go.
You reckon?
I just think Michael Maguire doesn't pay overs for centres or wingers and stuff like that. I feel like that money could be used elsewhere where they need, whereas they've got centres that can sort of do the job. Like at the start of the season before Staggs was there, they still were going pretty good.
Yeah, true. Yeah. I think they've got to look to keep Reynolds.
Yeah. It's a tough one because Reynolds is doing such a good job this year. And I feel like a lot of the stuff that he did on the weekend was all game planned. He must have known the defensive line comes up tight, high line. That's why he put a lot of those kicks in behind. Connor Tracy probably did some study on him being out of position a bit. But yeah, it's a flawless performance by him. But
it's all right knowing that, but there's not that many people that can pull it off.
Exactly.
Especially in the conditions.
Executing those kicks is... did Billy Walters start?
Yeah, he did. Yeah. He
kicked that 40-20 pretty early. But why?
Yes, that was... Why did he start? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe
Corey Pax has been really good, that's all.
Maybe a bit of a freshen up after the trip from New Zealand. No need to panic, though, for the Bulldogs. The last team to concede 42 points at Suncorp Stadium was the competition favourites, the Melbourne Storm, against the Redcliffe Dolphins. So you just put that to one side.
Here he goes again, the competition favourites.
Well, they are. Well, geez, the Tigers have been in the news big time the last week. Galvin back, and it didn't take long for him to come back with a big statement, involved early. And then for me, the highlight of his game was the one-on-one tackle on Hazelton in those dying minutes. He somehow stopped the try. Look, we can dissect the game and how Sharks shoulda, coulda, woulda got the win, not setting up for field goals, but the drama was, and the tension, the excitement, Leichhardt Oval, packed hill, it was just compelling viewing.
Yes, it was. Jimmy, I think, but even though Galvin's performance was good, I think Terrell May...
Oh, my God.
And I'm so glad we got rid of him. I'd hate to have an 85-minute front rower. I was trying to get up his stats, but I couldn't find him. But I'm pretty sure he played like 85 minutes, 280 metres, 41 tackles, 0 misses. And he is, Jesus, best player of the week.
Yeah. Do you know what he's done now? He's messed it up for everybody else. Because speaking to him about his pre-season, doing a marathon in his own time, going on the 75 hard challenge, people are going to look at that and then go, well, look what happened to Terrell May's form. So now you've got to do it. So well done, Terrell May, for messing it up for everybody else that's going to have to do marathons in their off-season, go on 75 hard. But no,
he could do some triathlons like Charlie.
Yeah. But the charge down on one of the Hines kick, people are saying, was he square at marker? I think the effort that he put in was absolutely incredible. And the Tigers, look, winning solves everything. Like, that team will be coming together. They'll be buzzing with that one.
Exactly. Like, the win has honestly taken all the pressure off of Lockie and the team against Lockie.
Richo couldn't go and enjoy his holiday, which has been spoken about. Like, I think it was quite pivotal for that, because it was spoken about on Sunday, almost in anticipation of, if the Tigers lose, then it's going to be come to the front of the rundowns. It's going to be top of story. Tigers CEO overseas on holiday while his club are in turmoil. So the win just dampens down the noise. It's sort of almost everything's gone now, and Lockie Galvin's future will be sorted.
Yeah,
in
we
November.
Forgive you, Lockie.
Yeah. Let's just move on. It was interesting to see the reception that he got, because I assumed it was going to be quite hostile. Like, I really did. I really did think it was going to be hostile for Galvin, but I mean, yeah, the fans didn't. Yeah, there was no booing of note. It was, I guess, pleasantly surprising.
No, I agree, and that's how it should have been. I feel he's a 19-year-old kid. They probably messed up. Both parties were in fault. I feel like they both messed it up somewhere, and no, it was good to see he didn't get booed. And it was good to see them get the win, because winning does solve everything.
It absolutely 100% does. The Sharks really will look at that game and say it was one that got away, but you've got to credit the Tigers for hanging on in there. When Bole got sent to the sin bin, I thought, oh no, they're gonna lose here, and they're gonna be headline grabbing for the wrong reasons again. The game on Anzac Day, the Roosters against the Dragons, despite being sent to the sin bin, Sandon Smith that's the best game of his career. It has to be. Anzac medal winner. He was. I thought I was watching
Joey Johns.
Not Joey Johns. I thought I was watching Walker, Sammy Walker, with that short kicking game. Like, it was brilliant. Like, the short kicks. He was amazing. Yeah,
it's about time he pulled his finger out, to be honest. No, but he needed something like that, especially with the speculation about DCE coming, and mate, he was unreal. I think he had 5 line breaks or something like that. And if you go and watch the highlights on YouTube, he's got a finger in pretty much every pile on the highlights. And I thought Teddy was amazing, but it was just such a good win. And Jesus, Roosters needed it. We would be, 2 and 6 if we had got that one wrong. And no, I'm just glad we're only 2 points out of the top 8 at the moment. I think we've got the bye coming up next week. So
yeah, it certainly.
I think we should get the win next week.
Keeps the Roosters in touching distance.
Yeah,
that's for sure. On Sandon Smith, do you think a performance like that, tells the coach that maybe I'm ready and we don't need DCE?
Yeah, I think it does. I think I already knew that. I already knew what Sandon was capable of. He's starting to find his feet, but it's just when we can get rolling like we were on the weekend, when we can get the forward pack rolling, that's when the good things will come off the back of it. But if we keep giving away penalties, keep giving up possession, and we're tackling 15 minutes on our line, it's so hard for halfbacks to be able to step up and be able to play off the front foot when our forwards are tired. But also Nafahu White, he is a gun. Yeah. He's only 22.
Is he? Yeah, the start of him and Lenu together, that's what won the Roosters the game, in my opinion. You just dominated the open exchanges. The Dragons' breakaway try really was fortunate.
Off the head.
Yeah, off the head. But yeah, just a dominant display from the Sydney Roosters. Obviously, she's pretty conscious of your time. I know you've got to get away to training, but just quickly, the Dolphins against the Canberra Raiders, for me, one of the most exciting games. The try from Avarillo on half-time was absolutely unplayable, but unfortunately, what it did, it put the Dolphins in at half-time thinking they'd won the game.
Yeah. And they come out on the second half thinking that.
Exactly. They just completely thought the game was done. Credit for the Raiders for mounting a comeback 2 weeks in a row. The Raiders proven everybody wrong, but the Dolphins will be kicking themselves with that. The Warriors, and we know our Wars fans are into us about not reviewing the game enough, but it was a pretty much a standard win against a team that they should beat. I love the fact that they get to play on Anzac Day. I love the fact that they took the game away. It was packed out, and the Wars have got things to be excited about. Wade Egan plays in your position. Is he banging down the door of Origin selection for New South Wales?
Yeah, I think he's good enough to, but I don't think he's got the jersey yet, or he's thereabouts. I think I'd have Uppy Coruscant, Reece Robson still. Yeah,
there's some competition there, but there's not much more he can do.
Yeah.
But credit to the Warriors, they just, after Vegas, Jesus, I thought, what on earth is it going to be this year? But
do you know who I feel like is Ethan Strange the best young player coming through at the moment? Is he better than Lockie Galvin?
You know what? If you take away the noise and you just focus purely
on the football,
yeah,
I think he's the best young player going around in the NRL at the moment. I only say that from my opinion of how I like to watch, how I like players, and he just looks like a player I would really enjoy to play alongside.
He was very good yesterday.
Yeah,
he was very good.
He just always competes. He's never not, and he's right down Ricky Stewart's alley.
Yeah, I think he's playing better this year, but Galvin's year last year was pretty good.
Yeah, well, strangely last year started off well, but then he had a rough period,
which is only natural. He's still young.
But he's still 19. Yeah.
That's an interesting topic for debate in terms of what Galvin's going to get on the open market. Strange. If he keeps going, Canberra are going to have to upgrade and extend.
Yeah,
because he's gonna turn some heads, and he already has. We've not gotten into the Titans Cowboys game, but again, another Titans collapse. The pressure will be coming for Hasler and the Titans. I do want to see them with foreign in their team, Keanu Keeney, see how that game manager can affect them. But if they don't start getting victories soon, the pressure is going to come. That is all we've got time for here on the Jam and Cheese. So, Cheese, enjoy your day training, and look forward to welcoming back our recovered fully after his groundbreaking triathlon,
pale,
Charlie White. He's in absolute struggle street after that.
Cold, I think.
After that 750-metre swim, 20k bike ride, 5k run, first bloke ever to do something difficult. I'm just conscious of him throwing an object at me here. So that's all we've got time for on the Jam and Cheese Show. Catch you next week.